10 Horrifying tortures used in ancient Rome. In ancient Rome, the overall principle was that slaves could be openly tormented. Truth be told, it was strongly suggested that any liberated individual accused of a wrongdoing would have his slaves tormented in his place, regularly until the very end, so a decision could be reached. That didn't prevent Rome's world class from torturing the free people of their nation, however. There were consistently escape clauses in the laws of ancient Rome, and the world-class rulers abused all of them. 10. Sewn into a donkey stock. In case you're looking for savage and uncommon types of torment, you don't need to look any farther than ancient Rome. Take, for instance, a torment that was portrayed by both Apuleius, the golden ass, and Lucius, or the ass. A jackass would be killed, its paunch cut open, and the guts eliminated. The accused was then deprived of clothing and stuffed into the creature's paunch. The midsection was sewed shut, leaving just the accused's head outside, preventing suffocation yet prolonging suffering. The jackass body was kept in the sun. It would begin to break down, with the living casualty inside being cooked by the warmth. Worms would slither everywhere on the accused, and vultures would peck at the creature's decaying tissue. Passing, while invited, came delayed for the survivor of this torment. 9. Taken care of to wild hogsy stock. Saint Gregory portrayed a heinous torment that was performed on young ladies by individuals of Heliopolis while under Roman rule. Any virgin who was to go through this torment was first given to the combatants. After the young lady was not, at this point, a virgin, she was freely stripped, and her midsection was cut open, spilling her innards out. Modest bunches of grain were full into her, and she was sewn back up, just to be given to wild hordes. She would then be destroyed. 8. Cut off a stock. In ancient Rome, the higher your status, the more individuals you were permitted to bone without result. For instance, the sovereign would get it on with anybody he needed. A general could take an action on a lieutenant or a typical resident, and warriors could follow normal citizens. Climbing up the social stepping stool was taboo. In the event that a typical resident chose to enter an unwilling warrior, the discipline was public mutilation. On the off chance that the fighter willingly permitted the normal resident to enter him, he would be freely disemboweled. These rules, combined with genuine affection between men, truly muddied up the waters. It was simple for anybody to blame a man for breaking rank or willingly giving in to entrance by a man of lesser status. 7. Or on the other hand, tied off a stock. Tiberius was quite possibly the most dreaded and detested rulers in Roman history, and all things considered. He was quite often in a foul state of mind and delighted in devising excruciating tortures. The casualty's penis was frequently the objective of his savagery, and he was known to invite his adversaries to drink wine with him. As his casualties got their fill of drink, he would have the highest points of their individuals tied shut, so they couldn't urinate. From that point, the genuine tortures started, and the casualties couldn't void their bladders. 6. Tormented senator. Ruler Caligula was similarly pretty much as unfeeling as old Tiberius. At a certain point, he had a congressperson cut open. The representative endured, and Caligula requested that his eyes be eliminated. From that point onward, hot pincers were used to take out his internal organs. To add to the debasement, the congressperson was sliced down the middle and torn to pieces. According to Roman conviction, passing was not a discipline, but rather a delivery. The torment was discipline, and passing was just permitted after a certain measure of pain and fear had been felt. Supported by advertising partner. The NBA Playoffs 2021. 16 groups in quest for interminability. That is the NBA Playoffs. #That's game. 5. Nailed into barrels. A few group were intended to endure longer than others before the sweet arrival of death. Under Emperor Domitian, Christians were tormented in the most awful ways. One of the most disgusting tortures performed involved smearing a Christian in nectar and milk. The casualty was then nailed into a barrel and forcibly fed parasite-ridden food. The parasites devoured the insides of casualty, whose body started to spoil inside the barrel. After around 14 days of this torment, the casualty would finally bite the dust and become a saint for the Christian religion. 4. Covered alive stock. Ruler Nero took pleasure in having individuals covered alive. He only saved this discipline for Vestal virgins who broke their promises of virtue. In one record, Nero constrained himself on the priestess Rubria. For her discipline, she was buried inside a little cavern and left to starve to death. Another torment upheld by Nero involved the accused digging his own grave. After it's anything but, a stake was set inside the grave. The accused was then bound and driven into the grave. On the off chance that his wrongdoing was minor, he would be pushed so the stake pierced through his heart. Anybody sentenced for a heinous wrongdoing was pushed so the stake mortally injured him. He was then left to bite the dust in excruciating pain or was covered alive. 3. Eaten through the middle got rodent torment. Photograph credit. HBO through the New Statesman. Killers frequently used creatures to do their barbarity, similar to the case with the cauldron torment. For this specific mercilessness, a starved creature, like a rodent, a canine, or a feline, was set inside a little cauldron. The opening of the cauldron was then attached to the tummy of the accused. The killer would hold a fire to the rear of the cauldron, making the inside amazingly hot. The creature would frenzy and attempt to get away. The just delicate ground for it to uncover its path was through the midsection of the accused. 2. Honey bee basket stock. One peculiar type of torment involved stripping an individual down and stuffing him into a huge, approximately woven crate. The bin was then raised up into a tree containing a huge, dynamic bee colony. The honeybees were immediately incensed, and the individual inside the bin was then stung to death. The accused was intended to languish in distress over as far as might be feasible. Nonetheless, there were situations where the casualty of this torment kicked the bucket moderately rapidly due to being oversensitive to honeybee stings. Supported by advertising partner. The NBA Playoffs 2021. 16 groups in quest for eternality. That is the NBA Playoffs. Hashtag that's game. 1. Crucifixion strategies. Photograph through the Boston Catholic Journal. Ancient Romans cherished a decent execution. It was all at once the essential technique used to tormented and kill endless quantities of slaves. Crucifixion didn't generally involve nailing the accused to a cross. At times, the accused was stripped, his head was covered, and he was secured onto a cross or fork. He was then lashed, at times until he died. If the accused shouldn't kick the bucket by continuous flogging, the following strategy involved nailing his hands to the cross shaft. He was then raised onto a planted post, and his feet were nailed to the post. He may be left there to die in some horrible, nightmarish way, or his thighs may be broken to help speed his end. In a few cases, the accused may be hung topsy-turvy on the post. Different occasions, the killer had the post passed through the accused's genitals. The strategies used contrasted from one killer to another, with nobody set technique for execution for all.